Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Books You Can Sink Your Teeth Into podcast. I am your host, Granite A. Miller, and welcome. This is our first podcast on the Civil War, and we're going to be doing a number of these. We're going to start with the pre-war buildup, go into the actual war itself, and talk about the books that were written, giving us the history of it all. And so I hope you enjoy this series. So today we're going to be looking at the events that were leading up to the Civil War. Now you may go, "Oh, come on, we all know what it was: slavery, etc., etc." But actually, there's a really a lot of history that I think you're going to find amazing. So, without further ado, let's talk about the two books that we're going to be reviewing. The first is The Field of Blood. This is a book written by Joanne Freeman, and it's about it details the Congresses from 1830s all the way up to the secession of the southern states. And she is a fantastic historian and a fantastic writer. She just brings this stuff alive, makes it alive. It's really a great read, and it gives you some real insight as to the politics that were going on, that were leading up to these things. And I think after you listen to the show today, you're actually going to realize, there were a lot of characters, a lot of nations, a lot of things at play that you may not have realized before this. So that's a really good book. So we're going to be reviewing this. And then the second one that we're going to review is called The Empire of the Summer Moon. It's a history of the Comanche Empire, the Lords of the Plains. Something that you don't get. I put the screenshot of the book. This author is a fantastic historian, writer as well. And boy, when you read this, you are going to know that there was a lot going on out there in the Southwest that you may not have realized. So let's get right into it. So we're going to really kind of take today's show and talk about the annexation of Texas and the Mexican War that followed, and how and why Ulysses S. Grant and others stated that it was the Mexican-American War that really was the start of the Civil War. And we'll go into that we'll go into that. And so first, Texas was part of Mexico, part of Spain, as well as all California, all the way up the Northwest. But in 1836, Texas declared its independence from Mexico, and Sam Houston was the president then of Texas, and it was his own country. But immediately after declaring their independence, they wanted to be annexed by the United States. Unfortunately, the U.S. said no. Now, let's take a quick look at a map. This was the Texas territory. Now, you can see all of this land. And when you look at modern maps, you see just how big Texas is. And it's like, well, but back then, there were, of course, people living all over the place, but it was really the southeastern part was Texas, where the majority of the population was. The area that surrounded it was part of the Comanche Empire, which is what I think is left out in a lot of American history books. We'll get back to the Comanches in a few minutes. Let's get back to Texas declared its independence from the state of Mexico, from the country of Mexico, Republic of Mexico, and in 1836, and applied to become part of the U.S., but they were told no. And the reason was that Texas was a slave holding state, and had at that point in time the U.S. brought Texas in, that would have skewing the numbers, meaning that at that point in time in the United States House of Representatives, and there was a huge divide between the southern slaveholding states and the northern non-slaveholding states. The North had abolished slavery. England had abolished slavery. Mexico had abolished slavery. And, the South was holding on to it. And we'll talk about reasons another episode. So because the balance of power at that time would have been then, had Texas been admitted, then the southern states would have had a majority. And so there was a lot of pushback about allowing Texas to come in. An interesting player in all of this was the United Kingdom. Great Britain wanted to push Texas into the United States fold because it wanted to tip the power, the balance of power in Congress. And you ask yourself, what in the world? Why is the United Kingdom meddling in the affairs of the U.S. like this? And, they abolished slavery. Why are they pushing a slave-holding territory into the United States? So part of it was because England needed the cotton that was being generated from the southern states. So at that time, the English were becoming, the whole world was hooked on sugar, number one. But number two, the cotton industry was the cotton was just so valuable. And England wanted to ensure that its supply of cotton was going to be met, its demand for cotton was going to continue to be met. And so they wanted to tip the balance of power into the southern states' side. Interestingly enough, England started to stockpile cotton with anticipation that there might be some type of holdup with production in the United States because of potential civil war. This was something that the southern states should have kept their eye on, and we'll bring this up in a couple episodes when we get to it, because England having a stockpile would then say, okay, well, we really don't need your cotton for this year, next year, and that that's not an official embargo, but it was kind of like we're not going to buy until things kind of get resolved. So that was a indication there as well of people knowing that something was going to happen. But this was back in 1836, 1840s, and finally, I think it was. Let me just make sure I get the year right. It was 1844. They were still, so almost 9 years, right? So, I don't know, 11 years since, here we go. Can't even do math. 1836, and now it's 1844. So it's been 8 years. And finally, the United States, the majority, although they kept pushing and saying no to this treaty, the new president coming in, the new president-elect Polk, who had the support of the Southern Democrats and winning, they were going to get this through. And so in 1844, in December, the official document to allow Texas to come into the Union was signed by Congress. It was sent to Texas, where they voted overwhelmingly, and then in February joined the United States, which of course then prompted the Mexican-American War in April of that year, Mexico not wanting to let go. But but let's take a look back, though, about this whole Texas territory and get you some interesting facts. So I mentioned that, a lot of the population was crammed down into the southeast, and you kind of maybe want to ask yourself, well, look, you had, Louisiana with all the French people coming in. They could have been pushing westward, but they stopped. The Texans, they come in, and they were trying to push westward, and they stopped. Why? What was it? Well, first of all, their first big enemy, not only for the Texans, but for the Mexicans, were the Apaches. Now, we take a step back, and we look at the Pueblo Indian Revolt, where they released thousands of Spanish horses into the wild, and then the Shoshone peoples who were coming, who were in the plains, started to adopt the horse. The Apaches were one of the early adopters, and they had a lot of success after taking the horse, and they were able to raid. They're very successful at it. They were not everything you say is kind of generalized, but they would dismount to battle. They would ride to a battle, dismount, fight with the on the ground, and then jump on their horse and ride away. But there was another group that was also working with the horses, and the Apaches were raiding, and then suddenly the Texans and the Mexicans started to see that the Apache raids started to dwindle off. And then you even had some Apaches coming in and saying, hey, let's make a peace treaty. Let's live together. Let's live together in peace. Well, that was wonderful news for the Texas Anglos and the Mexicans. However, what they didn't realize, there was a greater force being assembled, and those were the Comanche. Now, this is coming from the book that here it is. Now, why were the Comanche so much more successful than the Apache? Number one, the Comanches learned how to not only capture horses, ride horses. They were master horsemen. They were probably in the Americas the best horsemen that ever existed. But they also learned how to raise horses, how to keep stock and breed stock and create stock. And the other thing that really separated them from their neighbors was that the Comanches learned how to fight off of horseback. So they didn't need to dismount. They could ride and shoot and fire, and they were devastating. There was nothing like them. And they came down and just swept through the Apaches, forcing the Apaches west into the mountains and east to settle in with the whites, and the Comanches just took over, and they raided the Texans, the Mexicans. They raided north. They were everywhere, and nothing could stop them. They could come in. They would ride on the sides of their horses, firing from underneath the bellies. Just tremendous warriors on the back of a horse, and and there was just no answer to them. In 1844, just before Texas was brought into the United States, Sam Houston signed a treaty with the Comanches saying, "This is you guys can have that land. It's yours. Just stop raiding us." And then of course that treaty was null and void, like all the treaties. Unfortunately, it's a sad comment. But the Comanches really owned all that westbound territory, and they didn't cease their raids. So even when you had the Mexican War, followed then by the Civil War, the Comanches still were the lords of those plains. They were not conquered until really the 1870s, and what it wasn't so much military. They were decimated by European diseases. So that gives you a setup Okay, and so this is the first part of our history leading up to the Civil War. So Texas, slave owning state, is brought into the United States, which triggers the Mexican-American War, which, according to Ulysses S. Grant and others, was really the start of the American Civil War. So next time we'll dive into the Mexican-American War, and we'll see how all of the generals that fought in the Civil War against each other, Lee, Sherman, Grant, Jackson, Stonewall Jackson, they were all part of that American army. And we'll talk about that next time. So up next, our famous comedian, Count Vlad, will be here. And he's going to share his perspective of the Civil War because he lived through it. And he lived through these times. So we'll hear his wacky comments. So all in good fun. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon. Cheers. Hello, everybody. Hello, it's me, Count Vlad. I am here, and it's a beautiful evening. And I am here with you. And it's nice to be here. Yeah. And so much going on here at the Count Vlad's life. We got to go and talk about things and get you caught up to date. So here's the bigger news. The bigger news is that Lilith got very angry with me. I was given the advice to try to make her jealous, and she's like, I don't give a crap about you. Just stop what you're doing. And she kicked me out. That's right. Kicked me out of the house. Out of the castle, I mean. And so I decided to go down to my good friend's house, Fangorda. And I knocked on the door, and he opened the door, and I said, look, man, I'm outdoors, Maybe I could just come inside, stay with you a little bit. And then he goes, gotta go ask my wife. Actually, it wasn't his wife, his girlfriend, his partner, Lena. So he goes back, closes the door, leaves me outside, he goes and comes back, opens the door, and he looks at me, and he goes, sorry, man, she's kind of funny. I said, I know. Everybody funny. Now you funny too. So I head down to the local bar, the Vampire Bar, and I rent my coat, and I says to the bartender, look, man, come down here. So he got down here, and he goes, what you need? And I told him, I need a virgin, I need a Scot, and I need a blood beer. So, the Count of Vlad is maybe making a song. Oh, yes, or maybe he is. Who knows what's going on in this crazy brain. Yeah, so anyway, very, very disappointed in my friend, the Count of Angora. I thought it was bros before hoes, right? But no, he's Mr. Lena this, Lena that. Oh, sorry about that, people. I bumped into my camera. That's the Count for you. So, Lena, and yeah, so I don't know. I just don't know what's going on. I just went, whoa, wait, look, Vangora is here. Hey, Count Vangora, yay, hello. Well, what was going on? You didn't let me into your house the other day. No, don't just blame Lena. It was you too. You could have just said I could come in, but you didn't say it. No, I don't want to see your butt. Don't give me the butt. Okay. That was Count Vangora. I guess he wasn't very happy that I was talking about him in this way. So, anyway, back in the castle now, though. Yeah. Let me back. She's been a little sad because, Lena is now living with Count Vangora, and so she's a little lonely, so she's just, come on back, and so, yeah, so she's been so nice. Lord, she's been lovey-dovey. I'm going back to the song. Okay, now I have to get serious, because the the podcast man, granted a Miller, he wants me to talk about the time of 1830s to 1840s. And so those were really, really good years. The Count, at that time, I was living in near the what's today Texas, Oklahoma. I was there with Count Vlad, and we were just having a ball because we partnered up with these Native Americans. They were called the Comanches, and they were really, really brutal. And we would just go on with them to their raids, and Van Gogh and I, we'd just be sucking everybody's blood and just throw the victims out. Nobody knew the vampires there, so. But the Texans were very scared of the Comanches. They're scared of us. Actually, they didn't know. Well, maybe they did, but the newspapers never really reported on the vampire part. But yeah, we were there. That was great times, good times. And then the Comanches would go down and they would raid into Mexico, and we'd be right there with them. Yep, they would always love it, going during the full moon, and gosh, you couldn't have asked for better vampire allies than them. And we had good friends with Conan Parker. And yeah, unfortunately though, the Comanche started getting all the sickness that the white people had, and nothing much that Count Van Gogh and I could do. I mean, there were a couple of the Comanches that we made vampires, but we can't do the whole people, you know what I'm saying? And so yeah, it was a bit sad, but yeah, it was good times. It was good times. It was old times. Yeah, old times. Just things got things as we go across the centuries. Kind of lose track of time. But Count Vlad, he tries to remember these things. Yeah. So what else is new? Well, we are here. We did make a trip up to New York, and we were in the city. Yeah, it was always fun for vampires to go to the city because the city never sleeps. And so all night long you got the parties, and you got the bars, and you got the people. And so New York, very, very fun for vampire. And I almost made a, what is it called? A drop-in to a company. I almost Zoom bombed. See, the Count Vlad knows all the new words. I was Zoom bombed, but I was live. I would have been live on the Zoom. And, but no, the Count didn't do it. The Grande de Milor was having a conniption fit with me, and so I couldn't come out. I think everybody would have loved me, though. And I could have, said, hey, come and listen to the show, but it didn't work. Okay, I hope you are enjoying this channel. We've been doing, there's been some paintings. So we've got some new paintings that have come up. The Galante de Miller, he was out on the kayak the other day. So there's some kayaking and all types of things. So if you're enjoying the channel, please like and subscribe. That's all I got to say for this week. Hope you're all doing good. And until next time, adieu.